What's going on, Nerd Squad, and welcome back. We're here with another cheeky part 2. Yeah, it turns out there's a lot of love in the air, and when it comes to Marvel Comics, there's many couples to choose from. So, without further ado, you know why you're here. I'm Taylor McWatters. Let's just talk about love. Let's dive in. Kicking off the list at number 10. The Winter Soldier and Black Widow. Bucky Barnes and Natasha Romanoff. Sometimes you get some good out of a bad situation. And that's exactly how Nat and Bucky started out relationship-wise. So around the time of the Cold War in the Soviet Union, Natasha trained Bucky Barnes in the Red Room alongside other students. Natasha, or rather in this storyline, Natalia, and Bucky both hit it off. I mean, they had a lot in common. The whole Russian brainwashing, the assassin skills. Natalia worked for the KGB and Bucky Barnes became the Winter Soldier for Hydra. So it's fair to say they had a lot in common. They were great for each other as well. I mean, they made each other feel like they were more than just assassins, which I love. They of course get caught and punished because of their love, but what does a Red Room punishment mean? I mean, well, it's a little bit different from the 50 Shades of Grey Red Room punishment. See, in this one, they brainwash you numerous times, put false memories right in your head, all that good stuff. So it's heartbreaking, man. They find love, the true meaning of life, and then they get brainwashed, sent away on secret missions, they bond again, fall in love again, and then so on and dan forth. Quite the history in comics and in the MCU as well. Natasha says a line towards Bucky after he escapes his holding cell in Civil War, and she says, "The least you could do is recognize me." So is this about her getting shot from the brainwashed Bucky back in Iran, or could there be even more history just sprinkled behind the Winter Soldier storyline that has yet to be discovered? And before we head over to number 9, guys, if you want to go ahead and toss us a thumbs up, that would be great. It goes a long way for us. It actually helps pay for all the things in the studio, so you can see all my facial flaws in HD. Number 9, Thor and Jane Foster. The God of Thunder from Down Under and Jane Foster. Nice. A relationship that is still being worked out in the MCU with Natalie Portman playing the God's love interest, sometimes in the movies. Now, the last we heard they broke up. Well, Jane dumped him. Or it was a mutual dumping, as Thor says. And this all began in the 60s when readers were introduced to Jane Foster. She attended med school and was soon hired by Dr. Donald Blake, who was actually the God of Thunder in disguise. Always safe to have a secret identity. I have like 3. I'll never tell. They're the king and queen of long distance. I mean, holy shit. One lives on Earth and the other lives on Asgard. They're totally devoted for each other, and at one point, Jane actually takes over and becomes the God of Thunder, while Thor was unworthy of wielding Mjolnir. And in recent comics, she's now Valkyrie. She's awesome. But her time as Thor was pretty exciting. The only catch was that her cancer would worsen every time she used the godly powers to save the day. So Jane ended up fighting until her last days, where she passed away in his arms. Now, Natalie Portman is returning in Thor Love and Thunder and will wield the hammer. That's confirmed. Let's just hope that she doesn't have to deal with any life-altering side effects like, I don't know, cancer? Number 8, Bruce Banner and Betty Ross. He's a scientist who turns into a green rage monster, and she's the daughter of an Air Force General, Thaddeus Ross. So Betty lost her mother at a young age, and her father didn't want her hanging around military bases, of course believing it's no place for a young girl. So she went off to boarding school. And when she came back, she was introduced to Dr. Bruce Banner, the scientist who was behind the Gamma Bomb project. Thaddeus wasn't already a fan of Bruce. He thought he was like a physical and emotional weakling, which is just a great thing to think of someone. And then when Betty and Bruce started falling in love, that feeling intensified. So after the whole Gamma incident, that changed Bruce into a part-time Hulk. They didn't have an easy go. The only way Thaddeus approved of their relationship was if he got a handle on becoming the Hulk, so he doesn't Hulk smash his daughter, right? I mean, that's fair, that's totally fair. He's looking out for his daughter, she doesn't have a mother, cool. So when Bruce was able to keep the brains while becoming a beast, Thaddeus figured the threatening aspect is no longer a worry. Cut to their wedding day. Right before they're about to be pronounced husband and wife, Bruce is attacked by the leader in the form of radiation. Not a great leader. And things got ugly, wedding ruined, just like that. So they went separate ways for a bit until Bruce returned to the Gamma base to successfully separate the Hulk and Bruce. Then Betty left her other boo, Ramon, and then the two got back together. Wow, talk about ups and downs in a relationship. Number 7, Captain America and Sharon Carter. This relationship is too good, weird, mostly weird, to not mention, okay? I mean, it came out of nowhere in the MCU, literally. Captain America was in love with Peggy Carter like his whole life, since he was a scrawny kid from Brooklyn. And then years later, when he's an established Avenger, she's much older now. And then right after she passes away, like right after, he got his sights on none other than another Carter. As Beyonce would say, hey Miss Carter. Even the actor who played Peggy, Haley Atwell, said at Comic-Con that she's not a fan of the new couple. She says, I just feel like I wouldn't want to date my great aunt's guy. It just feels like it crosses an incestuous boundary. And Peggy just died. Yeah, that came out of nowhere in the MCU, but not exactly in the comics. See, Sharon, aka Agent 13, was the younger sister of Peggy in this case, but that was retconned because it was maybe a bit too weird. So when Cap first went on a mission to take Batroc the Leaper down, Sharon was by his side, and then the two, of course, hit it off while they were punching people in necks. She's actually one of the first people to learn of his super secret alter ego, and Cap's wild in the MCU. He's like, hey, I love Peggy. Oh, she's old and dying? Cool, no sweat, Sharon it is. Oh, I can go back in time? Peggy it is, again. Number 6, Spider-Man and Black Cat. Peter Parker and Felicia Hardy, aka Black Cat, is one of the more interesting relationships in Peter's life. Well, rather, Spider-Man's life. That's the fun part. See, she entered the Spider-Man comics back in 1979 with Amazing Spider-Man issue 194, and her father, Walter, was a famous cat burglar before, and he often inspired her to be the best at whatever she does, even if that includes committing crimes. She had a pretty rough origin story though. I mean, learning how to train and become an expert in combat was strictly to kill a man who had assaulted her at a party. And when it came down to finally getting this long-awaited payback, he was in a fatal car crash, thanks to alcohol. Don't drink and drive. So she has these skills now and nothing or nobody to tackle them with. So she took a page out of her father's book, donned a cool suit, and became Black Cat. Shortly after, she met Spider-Man, both in costume. And she fell for him. She could tell that he was a kind soul underneath the mask and trusted him. And that trust quickly evolved to lust and then, of course, to love. Eventually, Peter revealed his true self and she had a tough time accepting the fact that he was just an average kid. Their relationship is enjoyable and different because it's all about the super life in this case. It's not so much about Peter being there as a boyfriend, like, hey, when are you gonna be home? It's like, hey, when are you gonna meet me on top of this building? We're gonna go break some necks. The Spider-Man PS4 game nails that love triangle, so if you haven't played that yet, what are you waiting for? You must. Number 5, Kitty Pryde and Colossus. Age is just a number, right? I mean, you know, you can be 26 and you can date somebody who's 30. It's fine, it doesn't matter anymore after a certain age, right? You get older, it doesn't matter. So Kitty Pryde met Colossus when she just joined the school for gifted youngsters and quickly had a little crush on the Tin Man. The two shared kisses and tails and became pretty close over time. But he played hard to get at first, you know, kind of pushing her back, you know, I get it. Kitty wanted to go all the way, you know, home base, but he suggested that they wait until she's older. Great call, amazing call. But fans were delighted to watch them grow together. Literally, they got older and they watched what started as a teen crush grow into this lovely adult relationship. Number 4, Jean Grey and Scott Summers. Scott Summers is the guy who gets around. So Cyclops and Jean Grey became close in the school for gifted youngsters after Scott was given a visor made of ruby quartz so he could control his powers, but he also looked pretty sick. So he shortly became deputy leader of the X-Men and then fell in love with his teammate, Jean Grey. And their love is strong. I mean, Jean committed genocide as the Dark Phoenix, and Scott was still on board, so nice. Their honeymoon was pretty wild too. Yeah, they were sent in the future in different bodies to raise Cyclops and Madeline Pryor's son, Nathan, who we all know now is Cable. I mean, it's either that or Sandals Resort, so. She's in his head too, like, literally. Jean created a psychic link between them both, giving them the ability to read each other's minds. I can't tell if I would love that or hate that. Number 3, Deadpool and Lady Death. Till death do us part. I mean, the idea of dying for somebody or dying for somebody's love isn't necessarily a new concept, but when it comes to the merc with the mouth, his love for death is ever more growing. I mean, the guy basically dies every other day. Or he comes really close to it at least. So when he was tortured at Weapon X, that's when it all began. And he's a pretty charming lad, so it didn't take much for Lady Death to eventually develop feelings for him every time she saw him. So she was a serious, powerful entity, and he would just show up and crack jokes, and then go back to life. She loved it, man. She loved his visits, she loved his humor, and then there's always the other guy. You know, this time in the form of, I don't know, Thanos? He was jealous that his near-death experiences were acting like these one-on-ones in The Bachelorette. So he cursed Wade with immortality so that he wouldn't see her. And at one point the curse was lifted, allowing for Wade and Lady Death to be together for a hot minute. For sure, one of the more interesting couples that have happened. Definitely. Have to include them on the list. Number 2, Spider-Man and MJ. She made her first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 42, but fans knew about her long before that. See, the redhead who digs the webhead was played most famously by Kirsten Dunst, and the couple seems to go through quite a bit together. I mean, early on in their dating days, they broke up numerous times, but eventually they found their way back together. Yeah, at one point, MJ was dating Harry Osborn and Pete was seeing Gwen Stacy, but after her tragic neck thing where he, killed her by accident, they kind of got back together. Even when he asked her to leave, she stayed. That is true love. So the two tied the knot in the Amazing Spider-Man Annual 21, finally. I mean, he proposed to her years before, but she made a run for it. Can you blame her? One of the biggest comic book moments for the couple was in the storyline One More Day, where they have to strike a deal with the devil, Mephisto, in order to save Aunt May's life. The deal? Well, they were never married, ever. It just didn't happen. Kind of like Shrek 4, but a lot better than the movie Shrek 4. A lot better. And last but not least, number 1, Vision and Wanda Maximoff. Perhaps one of the most interesting couples. He's an android, she's a witch, and they go through a lot together. So Vision and Wanda tied the knot back in 1974, and they welcomed twins. Well, kind of. The catch was these twins of Wanda and Vision came out of nowhere, and it was revealed later that their souls, the kids' souls, were part of Mephisto. God, he always gets in there and messes things up, eh? But then another pair of twins were created, and then they grew up to become Wiccan and Speed, bearing magic and super speed as their powers. Now in the MCU, their romance is super fun to watch. They both got their abilities from the same Infinity Stone, so although Vision is dead, there's clearly some sort of connection still, which we'll see play out in WandaVision like really soon. Wanda is super powerful. She can change the entire world simply by wishing for no more mutants. She breaks reality as we all know it. I mean, I can't wait to see more of this side to their relationship. Really see what Wanda can do, Because they've been holding back on her. Well guys, there you have it. Which of these power couples are you the most interested in? Do we need to see more of them? Do we need to see less of them? I'm actually really excited to see what the hell happens in WandaVision next week. I want to see all of that right now. Just absorb it into my eyes. Let us know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Taylor McWatters. You're you. Keep being you. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.